Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got an unboxing video and a first ride of the HAOQI Cheetah. This should be an interesting bike. It comes with 2 batteries, so potential for really long range rides on this. So at this point I've taken about 20 of these e-bikes out of the box, and the one thing that I've noticed is that all assemblies are extremely similar. So I'm going to keep this really short. So let's get this bike together quickly. We'll look over all the components before we take it out, but I want to get this on the road today and see how it does. I'm going to take it for a ride on one of my favorite test hills. So let's get going on it. This is what the bike will look like after you pull it out of the box. It's about 90% assembled. So real easy finish assembly here. Rear rack's already on, rear fender's already on. This has the auxiliary battery here. Your main battery's under here. You can buy this bike with or without this battery. I requested that they send me one with so that I could do the long range testing. The combined amp hours is about 25 for the 2 batteries. So should get quite a bit of range out of this bike. Your front wheel will be in the box, front fender, front light, your pedals, and the seat was actually in place, but I just pulled it out to get it out of the way for now. Your rear light is already assembled, and it is wired and also acts as a brake light. So let me get this thing together. I like to put the front wheel on first. That way I can use the side stand to stand the bike up on its own and do the final assembly. All right, the assembly was super easy. There wasn't anything tricky about it. Nothing specific to this model to report. Very standard assembly. So it should take you about 20 minutes if you know anything about bikes. Maybe 45 minutes if this is your first time and you don't know anything about bikes, but anybody can do that. Very simple. We can look over all the components and get a close look at everything. Starting at the back of the bike, we have 26-inch wheels, 4-inch wide tires. We've got the Gemma hydraulic brakes with 180 millimeter rotors. This is a full suspension bike, and so you have a 4-link rear suspension with a non-adjustable spring shock. Your controller is hidden in this bottom. I haven't opened that up to see what that actually is yet, but I will probably by the time I do the next video. Looking at the linkage for the rear swing arm here, you can see that it does have bronze bushings, and that's on all of these. So that's a good thing. Means that we're not just running the pivots on the aluminum itself. This is the auxiliary battery. You can buy this bike with or without it. It's cheaper to get it with rather than buy the bike and then later purchase this. This is held on at your water bottle cage. The mount just uses the 2 bolts that you normally would use for your water bottle. And the bracket holds this firmly in place. This comes down and plugs into a socket right here. Now if you're not running this battery, this socket would just be blocked off. Let's come up here and remove this. So you just turn your key. You'll actually have 2 keys for this bike. This will unlock your first battery. This is a lithium ion 48 volts 8.7 amp hour battery. And here's your bracket. You can see how that's held on. So to put this back, you just drop that in place and remove your key. Very easy. Your main battery is just turn your key. You've got a safety up here, and this will pop right on out. So easy to use there. Coming over here by the light, we've got a 48 volt 16 amp hour main battery. If you come to the top here, you've got a indicator light If you see there, you can see red, green, and blue are marked. So right now we're at about mid-range on this battery charge. I'll have to plug it in and give it quite a bit more. This does only come with a 2 amp hour charger, so it takes a while to charge both of these batteries. And these batteries do not charge together, they're charged independently. So if I plug in here and charge this battery, I'm not going to be charging this. I have to actually plug in on the other side for this. Again, we've got the Gemma hydraulic brakes, 180 millimeter rotor. We have a spring fork here with 100 millimeters of travel and a preload adjustment on the left side here, which is pretty standard. If you turn this, it expands this little plug here and puts more preload on your spring. On the other side of the fork, we have a lockout, so we can either just have the fork function with travel, or you can lock it out and have a rigid fork. We've got a 42 tooth big ring with single side protection, so your pant leg won't get pulled into that. Coming back to a 14 by 28 cassette, and that is a 7-speed. Our derailleur is a Shimano Tourney, and it does have this nice protection on it, so that'll help you if you're using this bike in bike racks, ever lay it down on its right side. That'll stop your derailleur from getting hit and being put out of adjustment or bent. The bike uses a Banks 48 volt 750 watt hub drive motor. It's weighing in at 36.8 kilograms. That's 81.3 pounds. And that is without the secondary battery. The second auxiliary battery weighs 5 pounds, 9.5 ounces. So add that to the overall weight. That's a general look at the components on the bike. When we get it back down on the ground, we'll take a look at the controls in the screen and see how that all looks. The charger is only a 2 amp hour charger, so it takes a while to charge all these batteries up. Like I said before, they have to be charged individually. They can't charge at one time. So if you want to charge both together, you're going to need to buy a second charger for that. We have a 1/4 turn motorcycle style throttle. We have a 7-speed Shimano SIS shifter. Shift up with that, shift down with this. To turn on the bike, we press the center, hold that, the screen comes up. Right now we're showing almost full charge. We're getting there. It has been about 3 hours this has been charging. If I scroll using the M, I can go to trip, timer, and then back to odometer there. Our pedal assist levels are shown here, and we can go up all the way to pedal assist 5, and then back down. And it does have a watt meter showing how many watts are being drawn by the motor when it's running. So that's a nice feature. These Gemma brakes have the built-in safety feature that when you pull on the brake lever, it also kills the power to the motor. If you hold down the up arrow, your lights will come on. The rear light is extremely bright. That's nice. There's also a brake light, so if I hit the brakes, it gets brighter. To turn the lights back off, you just simply hold down the up button again, and they go off. When your lights are off, this becomes strictly a brake light. So when you hit the brakes, your light comes on. So the bike's ready to go, but I have to get these batteries fully charged before we can do the test. We're going to go out and do a pretty serious hill climb test. We're currently in the old mining town of Idaho Springs. This is in Colorado, west of Denver. A real cool little town here. but it has one of the very best hill climb roads around. Very steep, a pretty long ride to the top, and it's a really good test for any e-bike. We're heading up Virginia Canyon here. This is the start of the climb. It's just paved for this first little part, and then we will be climbing dirt roads from there on out. Okay, now we start the dirt climb. This is a really pretty road up here. It is a Sunday morning, so we probably won't have much traffic. The bike's climbing nicely. I'm pedaling along with it. Okay, I'm going to pull over right here just for a second and show you what we've climbed. We started out down there by the highway, and we're up to this point and still got to go up over this mountain ahead. So really pretty ride though. Beautiful morning here, late October, Colorado. This bike does have a cadence sensor versus a torque sensor, so it's a little odd to get used to. I'm mostly used to torque sensors at this point, so that's what most of the off-road bikes are coming out with these days. To me, it's a much more natural feel, but this feels fine once you're motion and pedaling along. It does very well. Feels good here, so a real nice ride so far. We are running on just the 16 amp hour battery this morning. I left the auxiliary battery at home, so we'll see what kind of range we get with some serious climbing here in the Colorado Rocky Mountains. Cadence sensors are a little weird on takeoff. It's best to shift down into a real low gear before you try to take off, or actually before you come to a stop. That way the sensor will pick up that you're spinning and kick in the motor. Just works better that way. If you stop like I did on that last one in a medium or high gear, it can be hard to get the motor to re-engage. That's the kind of the opposite of a torque sensor, where you, as soon as you put any pressure on the pedal, the motor kicks in. We can pick our speed up just a little bit. Here we've got Russell Gulch. We're going to take a right here. All right, here we are overlooking the town of Central City. We're going to go ahead and ride down into it and ride up Main Street. Here's the Cheetah running on the 116 amp hour battery. So far we're doing really well. We've covered a lot of ground and we still got a lot of battery left. So we thought we'd stop and check out this old mine. Kind of a cool spot. Pretty cool building. So I'm back from my first ride on the Cheetah, and it went really well. So our ride this morning was a total of 23 miles. And since the battery has cooled down and recovered a bit, we're at 5 bars on it. So essentially half battery, although the last half of any battery always goes quicker than the first half. Keep that in mind when you're doing an out and back. Turn around before you actually get to the 50% mark because you will run short. So 23 miles, I would guess it's very likely that even in very hilly situations like what I had today, that this bike would do 35 miles on that with the 16 amp hour battery. The manufacturer of this fork says that it has 100 millimeters of travel. Let's see what I actually used here. So we're at 9 centimeters. So we're at 90 millimeters. I can't say that I ever felt it actually bottom out. So it maybe it truly does have 100 millimeters of travel. I'd say that for my 190 pounds, this fork worked exactly how you would want it to work. Some of you might have noticed that I have an Altus rear derailleur on here now when it actually came with a tourney. Let me jump back to the clip of what happened to that tourney, and then we'll come back to this. I went out on my first ride with the bike. I'd just ridden it a couple of 100 yards at the most. It was shifting up and down through the gears just fine. Everything seemed like it was in tune and all. And so I went ahead and pedaled a little harder just to see how the bike would respond. And the chain apparently got caught somehow on the rear derailleur. This rear derailleur broke off and got pulled around and wound up on the inside of the frame in front of the rear wheel. Section here and the section back here are both plastic, and it's just really lightweight. I mean, I've never seen a cage just fold up like that. But rather than put another one of those back on, the company obviously offered to send me another one right away to replace it with. But I want to upgrade it to at least an Altus. Now these Altus, you can see, look how big and heavy these cages are on these. You know, everything, this isn't going to bend on you. Metal construction, and it's just a much better derailleur. And it just kind of annoys me that e-bike companies keep opting for really cheap components. When I looked online, and there's literally a $3 difference in price between this really cheap thin plastic and a good Altus derailleur that'll last you a good long time. We're running the rest of the tests with the Altus in place, and I know that it's not gonna fall apart on me or give me any trouble. So gonna go put this on. So overall impressions of the bike are that it feels very solid. I'd give the power output of this motor and controller a solid 8.5, maybe even a 9, when compared to the best 750 watt hub drive motors that I've ridden. So a really good power delivery on this bike. On that hard climb that I did this morning, I only went up to pedal assist 3. I never went any higher than that, and it did very well. So I'm assuming that pedal assist 4 and 5, you would have just flown up that with very little assistance needed. I was trying to conserve a little bit of battery. That's why I didn't jump into the higher. So first time out, just kind of seeing what I had and how far I was going to be able to go. I feel like this rear suspension has a little bit of torsional twisting when you're hitting bigger bumps. Is that something that your average recreational rider or a commuter is going to feel? Absolutely not. It feels like a good solid design on the rear suspension here. I always wish that these had adjustable air shocks versus non-adjustable spring shocks, but that's just what it is at this price point. It's something that you could add to this bike to make the rear suspension a little more plush, especially for lighter riders. The HAOQI Cheetah here normally retails for $21.99. HAOQI does have a sale going on through the end of October. So through Halloween, you can pick this bike up for $900 off. So that's a huge savings. You can also use my affiliate link in the description below and get some additional money off. So save you a few bucks there as well. If you like this bike and want to see more about it, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I will have more videos where I really test the range on this bike. So that's coming up next. And as always, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one.